Hey guys, welcome back to Laura's Cozy Corner. I know it's been a while, a lot's happened, and it's been too noisy to even have a video, so there you go. But I'm still that busy mama y'all remember, and I work DoorDash. I have split shift on DoorDash. I get up in the morning and I have been timing myself, and it's actually working. It's got me better moods. I hate not timing myself, but you know, it seems to be working out better that way. So just a little rundown of what I do every day. About 7 o'clock I try to get up, and then it's waking up time, use the restroom, hygiene, get dressed, all that good stuff. I've been weighing in every day just to see where I'm at. I have a cool little app that I use with my scale. I got one of those scales. And it's neat to kind of see what you do every single day based on what you eat. So I do that. Then I go on and start breakfast, and we eat. And I've been reading Dr. Barbara O'Neill's books that she has. I got them both, and encourages me to start drinking more water. I encourage you to get those books because they are very chock full of all kinds of information. All right, and then so trying to drink more water throughout the day and certain times of the day. What else? So after my breakfast, I take care of the cats and the dog because, you know, our pets, they need our help. And then I come on out to my garden. So in the garden, my time's about 9:15, I think, is when I start coming out, till about 11 o'clock. So now that's a give or take, you know, it's a guideline kind of thing. So I got about, an hour and a half, something like that out in the garden every morning-ish. And it gets really hot here lately. And with the humidity, that's a lot of it too. So during that time, I do a little bit at a time. I have a little graph paper that I've kind of planned out what I want my garden to look like. And each day I try to do a little bit more to get to that point, okay? So since you guys haven't seen anything yet, this is sorry about the sirens, I'm in town, remember that. I'm in my backyard. We have some volunteer pumpkins that come up just anywhere in the middle of my yard, which was actually underneath my chicken coop that I had sitting here. And I had moved the chicken coop, as you can see. I've put cardboard down underneath to try to block out most of the weeds. And then I was using this little guy as a greenhouse. And my greenhouse flowed over and broke my little stand and everything, but I kept the cover. The cover has holes in it. I was using that to keep my chickens warm when I had them. And also had vents so the air would go out and all that good stuff. So I've used this as a greenhouse this year. A small one yet, but this is really the first time that I have succeeded at starting plants because of the little greenhouse. And I start them in these little black pots, and I put, you know, little markers to tell what they are. And look, we have nice, beautiful tomato plants versus if you look back at my few years back or so videos, I had them in a window in my house, and all they did was get really long and leggy and didn't produce the nice, after the 4 set of leaves, they would just fall over, and they was really tiny, thin, and they died off. So having this, even with, this is a solid roof. It's not, even with that, look what they've done. I'm just so tickled to death. I even started peas in here. Peas, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, is really hard to transplant because the peas, they don't have a good root system, there we go, to hold the dirt together inside the pod. So when I pulled them out, some roots would come out, break a little bit, and then I'd transplant them. But I was like, okay, if the good Lord wants them to grow, I'll say, good Lord, please grow for me. Have them grow for me. So I've done that with everything so far. Now it's warm. It's in the middle of June. Today is June 14th to be exact. And so I can start at the beginning when I walk into my garden here and just give you a tour of what has already happened. And like I said, I took about an hour and a half every single day to be out here and just, I start marking off beds where I want to plant stuff. Start with planting, I forgot. Graph paper, put your plan down on graph paper, kind of measure out your garden space, see what you can fit. That helped me a lot this year. So with that plan, I have another graph paper and wrote out what's actually planted. So I have one to look at, one that's actually planted or whatever worked. So I've got tomatoes. I decided to plant all down this here fence line so that maybe when they get tall enough, I can attach them to the fence and have them even grow over top. If you remember last year, I had them all throughout the rest of the garden. They growed so big, and I was gonna try to make little tomato trees if they would stay up. It didn't work. They flopped over. They even all landed on the ground. And I had a lot of them that split and lost a lot and all that. I didn't even pull out the suckers, which is between the little V's. Like there's a little leaf in between the little stems and stuff. You pluck that out and that would be more nutrients going to the other main stems. So I'm doing that this year, okay? So we're gonna try that, tie them up along this here fence line. And at the beginning, I didn't think any tomatoes was coming up, so I waited the germination date. When it passed, whatever come up and whatever didn't come up, I would put more seeds in. So guess what? I got all those tomatoes still in there you just seen, and I'm trying to fit them in to my garden plan here. Now, this growth, and I will say, back up for those that don't remember, I've been laying down cardboard on top of weeds and putting mulch on top of cardboard. Well, over time, this is what happens if you don't replenish your cardboard on top, okay? Which, a matter of fact, last year I had a lot of brush and everything as a pile right here. So my husband was able to mulch some for me this year so far. Then the mulcher broke down and we were working on that. So when he done that, it shot a pile over this away, which is where I laid down cardboard to be put on, and then I could take it and put it where needed on the garden. So this area here has not had any cardboard, and you can tell what the whole garden would look like if I didn't have cardboard, okay? Now, I have come through and I've plucked big things just every day. Big stuff that I don't want growing, like polk. I don't even know what some of the stuff's called, really. But there's also, I call them sticker bushes. Those I try to get on out before they get too big. And then when I walk through here, most of this is all like dandelion. But see these right here, I'm not real sure what this is yet. I haven't done any research on it, but they get really tall, so I just go on and pluck it out. All right, now I've got lots of morning glories. If you remember last year, they'd be all over my pile here. They're coming up now. Anywho, I'm just jabbering like crazy. I just had coffee. Maybe that's why. All right, anyway. I've got some tomatoes all down this here fence line. And I come out every day and I try to make sure they're good and weeded. And make sure they're not, you know, weeds around or plants. These really are not, I don't know if they're weeds or not, but they're beautiful. And I didn't want to pluck them out because I was thinking about the bees. So I have a lot of this, and I have a lot of like the wild strawberries growing all up and down this fence line here. So I just planted the tomatoes in between, clear out a spot, laid down paper, and then after planting them, I laid down paper, put a little compost down in their hole too before I planted them, and put a handful of mulch or two around. And I've just been checking to make sure, you know, everything looks pretty good. And if I see little leaves like this, I better back it up, see if you can see, like ate up or broke, touching the ground, I just go on and get rid of that. We don't need nutrients going to this. I'd rather have it going to my plant. So that's what I've been doing for maintenance on these tomatoes as they get taller. Now, I've been having volunteer tomatoes come up. Because of the rotten ones that I had last year, I said, let's feed the trees, you know, just throw all the rotten ones on top where the bottom of the trees that I have here. So when I done that, I was hoping maybe I'd get a few plants out of it. But even in my compost, there's a tomato plant growing. So that one might be lost. But I figured whatever the Lord gives me, right? Okay, so we have these that started coming up. And we got some good rain, so this one perked up pretty good. I've got a few of tomatoes just planted just wherever. This spot here was one of my other pecan trees. It had died over winter. So I wanted to make sure it was dead, you know. This is the stick, actually. I broke it down, did a little trick. Broke it down, and it did. It snapped off at the very bottom, all dead. So I'll just need to get another one to replace it. These are, I want to show you these too. These are the onions that overwintered, that I planted last year. Didn't really come up, and look, they got nice big old blooms on them. They smell like onion, which is kind of odd. They smell like onion. And they're going to produce seed for me. So I'm just going to leave them, let them produce seed. And the ones that are not what you call bolting, this is what's called bolting. These come on up, and they're huge. They're big around. I mean, humongous. Somebody has some big old onions. And then this is my other pecan tree. And these are called creek pecan. You gotta have 2 pollinators. Pollinator 1, pollinator 2, for them to pollinate and make actual nuts from them. And so I need to make sure I get a pollinator that matches that one. I have to do some research again to tell you exact, but here's my peach tree. We've had cicadas like crazy, which everybody probably has too, yeah. And so I lost some of the tree, but it'll come back. And I had 2 little peaches on there, and they fell off. So this is the first year of them producing anyway. But I got this one, I just kind of laid in the ground yesterday, but this is how far they got, and they started getting holes in them and nasty and falling. Okay, so let me think here how to show you all, but let's go back to the gate. I explained all this silliness here. I got my tomatoes behind us on that tree, on that fence line. You come this way, and I have another fence line, and I started some cucumbers, and what I'm going to try to do is train them to go down this here fence line. I normally have cucumbers on the right side, and I decided to try this year. Over here, I was trying to have my brassicas, the Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cabbage, all that kind of down in here. And I started them by seed, and as you get them transplanted, which is kind of disheartening, this is what happens, you know. You get bugs that like your plants. When you're doing everything organic like I am, no what do you call it, chemicals or anything like that, you know, you'll have bites and stuff out of it. But this is my broccoli, and all these little weeds that keep coming up in between, because why? This is not covered and have mulch on it. I ran out of mulch, and like I said, my mulcher kind of broke down on us a few times and got it fixed, but just haven't been able to get out here and mulch. Brussels sprout is completely gone, so I guess I won't have that, but it's okay. I'm just letting the rainwater bring things up as needed, or as I can. And this here is the bed that I had laid down. I think I had potatoes about halfway down last year, and then I decided to get this bed ready for this year in the fall, and I laid down compost all over top. Lay down cardboard first, then compost on top, because I had no mulch. And when you lay cardboard down, you have to have something on top, or the wind will just take it. It's starting to sprinkle on me. Let's see. So I got all the cabbage down here. Cabbage, here's a cabbage, and there's another cabbage. They're getting a little bit bigger as they go, because that's how I planted them, was back this way. Started with the biggest one and went back. All right. So those are looking all right. Now I have a lot of potatoes planted this year. And how I come up with the number of potatoes is I just kind of guessed at what my family eats about once a week, you know. Say I eat a pound of potatoes once a week for our little family, I don't know. And then I went from that. So every week throughout a year, if you want a year's worth of potatoes, how many pounds would that be? You know, that's what I did to try to come up with how much items to plant. So if we got more, that's great. If we eat more, you know, a week or whatever, it's a give and take, you know. You just won't have potatoes at the end of the year or whatever. Or buy them at the store if you need it. But I'm learning that part. So I have Gold Rush potatoes. I think I have more of those because they was out of the other kind. I got 1 package of red potatoes, and I got 2 packages of mixed harvest blend, I think. So they got like some purple potatoes in there I'd like to try. Hopefully those will come up. I think they have. and then I've got Gold Rush. So the order that I planted that would be over here, and you get to see how big they've gotten already. They've already gotten huge already. So this would be the red potatoes. And then I have so there's 5 of those. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I put a little marker here to help me see where I planted the potato. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 red potatoes. And then I have the Harvest Blend potatoes. I got 10 of those. And they're coming up nicely. This one might be the purple one. Look, it's got purple to the leaves. I hope you can see that, because I cannot see if you can see. But there's purple tint to the leaves. So that's probably a purple potato. And then we go down here, and I think this one might also be another purple. There was 2 purples that I remember. And then Gold Rush at the end. And then I got Gold Rush continuing on the other side over there where I can plant some more. And it was down by the cabbage, like I said. And then I wanted peas, because peas are so good from my garden. And so they have to have something to climb on. And I thought this chain link fence would be great to have the peas on. So I started here with peas, and they're getting big now. And they grow these little tendrils. They grab on and hang on and start climbing. So hopefully, I keep trying to train them and get them to hang on to the little chain link fence. But as they get bigger, they'll be able to do so. So I have lots of peas. I decided how many plants I needed. Say that I eat 1 or 2 plants a week. You know, I just try to guess. When I got to this point, I found out that I could plant peas with potatoes, because I was like, man, I wish I could plant potatoes on this side, because I bought a bunch of potatoes. But I need the chain link to grow the peas, and I thought, can I grow peas with potatoes? Potatoes, in my head, would grab everything from the ground, and then peas grow above ground. So I thought, surely they're perfect companions. I Googled it, sure enough, they're perfect companions. I believe the potatoes bring the nitrogen to the peas, which is what they need to grow and flourish. So I've got peas. I planted peas alongside of my potatoes. So, and it's working. Look, they're coming up all behind my potatoes. See, this is a pea plant. That's a potato plant. You can tell the difference in their leaves. And I never knew this stuff until I started growing, y'all. So you need to grow so that you can find out what plants you want, what plants you don't want, and Google things. That's what I've been doing. Google, like, take a picture of certain leaves, you know, that you might find out in the garden. I put it on Google Lens, and I try to match it up real good. Sometimes it ain't the first thing they tell you, so you got to really, you know, investigate. Make sure it's the correct shape and all that before you say, okay, this is exactly this, and go from there. Then you'll know what grows naturally, which is why I kind of like not having the cardboard down, because I can see what's growing naturally. As you can tell, for those of you that do know, I was covered in dandelion. Dandelion's a weed that people pull up all the time. And I'm finding that it's medicinal in all different ways. The flower's medicinal, the leaves are medicinal, and now the roots are medicinal that I'm learning. So, do some research, see what all you got. You got medicine growing right here in your backyard, and you may not want to pull it up. Now, I have so much that I went ahead and pulled it up out of my garden beds because I just kind of like, I like how nice and neat those beds look. You know, you can tell where my beds are, and you can tell where the walkways are, covered by the green. But now it's starting to rain a little bit more. So that's what I got there. So we got tomatoes, potatoes, peas. This one here I'm going to call my first bed. It's a big apple tree in it. Now this big apple tree has had some crazy days. I come out and be laid this way, all the way down to the ground. I thought I lost it. We staked it up to pull it back that way, and then it was fine for a little while, and then guess what? We had another big wind and it blowed it this way. It's like, oh man. So then I stood him back up, and I didn't have a way to stake anything at that time. So I put my stool there on one side and put the wagon on the other side. Well, it held it up, not completely straight, but then it also started cutting into, because it's metal, you know, so it was leaning against the middle and it was rocking back and forth with the wind. So I had to hurry up and try to figure some way to stake this up. Finally was able to get the time to come out and get it staked up, and now I have one way, one going that way, and I felt like eventually it'd probably blow that away. So I put one on this side, so I got like a nice little triangle that's holding it up very well. And I just want to make sure that these are not too tight where the tree can't grow, and it'll grow around it if you ain't careful. But I ended up putting more dirt down. There's a hill of it, and then I tried to cover up with a little bit of mulch that I had here. So I don't know if it was because I didn't dig deep enough, but I know I measured and I believe it was deep enough. So I was just trying to put a little bit more stability there. So this year my tree actually produced some apples, but they're deformed and ugly looking, and I'm sure it's because of the, you know, the bugs and stuff that I have here. But you know, if I get apples, great. If I don't get apples, that's fine too. Like I said, I wanted to be organic. I've also got this fungus or whatever that might be all over these leaves, and that just requires me to do more research to see what's going on and see if maybe I can plant things that would stop it or whatever. So it's covered in ants. The black ants love being up here. I've seen fruit flies up here. We've got cicadas was up here. I've been watching things. Even a wasp has been coming over here too. So I'm just observing this year. Okay, with that being said, this will be my first bed. Here's an onion that overwintered as well, and it's doing the flowering. So we'll have more seeds there. And then this right here is another onion that overwintered, and it's small, so that, you know, might have been one of those that squishy that I didn't think had any life in it, and decided, well, I'm gonna plant it with another one anyway, and there it is. So that's what I've done this year. Onions, I felt them. If they was good and hard and solid, I made sure that was one in one of my holes, and then I get one that's kind of squishy and put it with it. That way I'm saving a little time as far as having to go back and double plant, and or If I get two, I get two, you know. Little onions to me is the same as a big onion. They're onions. If I can get them to grow, I'll get them to grow. It's great. So I ended up measuring off this bed. So I got 2 foot bed there, 2 foot walkway, which might not be enough. I don't know, but I'm going to do it that way. We got a 4 foot bed. So in this particular bed here, I started some peppers by seed in the greenhouse, but they never come up. And there was peppers that I saved, peppers that I was just doing some experiments with. I had pepperoncinis. I love pepperoncinis. So I was saving seeds from pepperoncinis, which, you know, experiment, you figure it out. They didn't come up or anything. So I planted actual seeds from, I think they're the heirloom varieties. And I planted them in the middle. So if you can tell where the middle white little things are, I've got them about 2 foot apart, I think, all the way down. And then I have, beside them, on each side, a row of onions. So I've got onions down through there, onions on that side. And I'll come down here and show you. You know, sometimes things come down in here and break stuff. I don't know what's down here, but you can tell some of these didn't come up. But look, there are some down through there, turning green. They're loving it. They love the ground. They're tired of being that little baggie. And I've got it on this side too. So you can see these little green spots all down through there. Now on each end, on this end and on the other side, I've got carrots and lettuce seeds planted. And then this direction, I put some marigold seeds down in here. And we'll see if any of this comes up. And these are some more dandelions that, you know, maybe the roots I didn't get. They're just coming up with their leaves, which is fine. I like the dandelions, but when I need a plant to come up, I want to make sure those come up, and then we can do the dandelions later. I know that ain't one. But I do see a bunch of little green all up in here. And I'm not sure, but I'm pretty positive that I hope that those are what I planted. We'll see though, if they're weed or if my plants, because they're different leaf looking. So hopefully we'll have carrots and lettuce. Carrots and lettuce, that's stuff I haven't planted really yet. In bed number 1. Now this is bed number 2. I did the same thing, measured a 2 foot walkway, got a 4 foot bed, and I've just used long sticks and stuff that didn't mulch up very well. Or I call them the tomato bones. The tomato plant bones from last year. I just break them up, you know, and lay them down here. They'll decompose throughout the year. So the extra tomatoes that I have left over, I put them out here. So I've got extra tomatoes on each side here with plenty of space. And again, I'm going to go through and make sure I pluck out the suckers. And we may have smaller tomato plants this year that produce good tomatoes. I've also planted down the middle, this time, carrots and lettuce, because I'm going to see if that will work. And then I've got 2 onions next to each tomato plant. 2 onions, 2 onions, 2 onions. Down, all the way down. So that was my plan for this bed. Got it all planted yesterday. And that would be with my peach tree. So that's bed number 2. Now, as you can see, I've got a walkway here, sort of. And yesterday I had maybe 30 minutes. But I was starting to measure my walkway. So I had a little corner here. And I had a little corner here going. Which, you know, overnight, like I said, things come out here. Moving things. This is my 2-foot walkway here. And then I'll start measuring out this bed for 4 foot. Have another 4-foot bed all the way down. It should encapsulate the onions here. Oh yeah, I forgot. I found another tomato down in here and I put a tomato cage around it. So we got that. It should encapsulate that, and it should encapsulate these volunteer tomatoes as well. And then I plan on using up the rest of the onion that I have, or I might end up putting onion in the back row down there, you know, like the line to line my fencing around. We'll see what I do with the onion, but onions help deter pests is what I read, of all sorts. Same thing with garlic. They don't like the smell, so it helps to get rid of some of the pests. And then in this bed, my plan was probably plant the rest of those tomatoes if I have them. If I've got more space, I'd like to plant maybe a couple more peppers if I need to start more peppers. And then, like I said, fill it in with the onions. Probably do more carrots. I like carrots. I don't know if they'll come up or not. I just hope they do. Lettuce, 2 rows of lettuce might be enough, but I might plant another row of lettuce in here with the carrots. They say you could do that to see where the carrots are going to come up at. Lettuce will come up before carrots. So, we've been liking me cooking at home and just different ways that I prepare things, and we'll do cooking and stuff too with y'all also soon. So that would be my next project. You know, every so often I come out and I start measuring. So my next step is measuring, weeding what I don't want in here, and then start planting some more up in here. And this will be bed number 3 with my pecan tree. So I also have a plan. My other plan is to have another 2-foot walkway, and then this is going to be one big bed with a 2-foot walkway around this stump, because I can't control the stump, right? So I'll have a walkway down here. We'll have a huge bed here, and half of it be green beans and half of it be corn. So we'll see how well that'll go. And I keep getting showers on me, so I probably should head on in because I feel it coming more. It's more of a little bit more than a mist. Go on in and do some housework. I do a little bit of housework when it rains. If it's nice out, I come out and do the garden as much as I can, as much as possible. So once my plan is, once this is all planted, then I can go back and lay down like a piece of cardboard, start back there somewhere, down in my footpaths, and start laying mulch on top of that cardboard as I go, and then go back and fill it into my beds. The mulch with paper, lay it down for a weed barrier, and have it mulched like that. So I'm sorry, it's been a long time since I've had a video. I haven't forgot about you guys. I've just had 2 other people move in, and then you got my son that asks questions, my husband out here in the building making noise, making stuff. He likes building with his hands, you know. And then the cicadas was really loud out here, so there just was no way of me having a nice quiet background to walk in or to talk in and be able to explain everything. But all right, well, I'm gonna go on in, start doing my dishes and floors and things. So you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for sticking with me and watching this. And we'll catch you on the next video. Bye for now.